Many of us know the major places and figures of World War II, but before those battles became the focus of action during World War II, before they ever became the headlines, and before the United States was even actively engaged in the war, two men met in the most unlikely place to get out ahead of the events that would eventually shape history. Months before the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Prime Minister Winston Churchill met in the cold, windswept waters of Placentia Bay, Newfoundland, Canada. It wasn't in Washington, it wasn't in London, it wasn't in a public hall, but it was on naval ships anchored far from cameras, far from the eyes of the world. But it was there in that remote and unremarkable place, the two leaders spent days of intense conversation, poring over maps and strategizing. Out of those private discussions emerged what became the Atlantic Charter, and it shaped the vision for the post-World War, including the core values for the eventual formation of what we now know as the United Nations. In a quiet, unlikely corner of the world, history was quietly set in motion. And in Matthew 28, Jesus did something very similar. Let's reflect on the angels and Jesus' words in Matthew 28, verses 1 through 10. Their words specifically to the women. In verses 7 and 10, we see the angels saying, Jesus is going out ahead of his disciples into Galilee. What's so special about Galilee? Galilee was a region in northern Israel. It was away from the hustle and bustle of Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. It was not the center of political power in that day. It's not where big decisions usually happened. And yet it's where Nazareth was, the town where Jesus grew up. It's where the majority of Jesus' ministry took place. It's where Jesus' first miracle happened, where people were healed and were set free when they encountered Jesus, where ordinary people discovered hope in the vision that Jesus preached about, and purpose in life in how he modeled and in how he taught. But there's more. After Jesus goes ahead from Jerusalem to Galilee, he does end up meeting with his disciples there. And eventually he invites them to join him on a nearby mountain in Galilee, where he invites his disciples to go out ahead of others, to go out ahead of those who haven't yet encountered the risen Jesus, to guide them to believe, to experience the same resurrection hope and renewal in Jesus. We call this the Great Commission. Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. In this commission, Jesus continues the trend of going ahead of his disciples to be with them wherever they go, going with them in the life he calls them to live out. Galilee is where Jesus gets ahead of us today. Just like Roosevelt and Churchill met in an obscure bay off the coast of Canada to get ahead of the war, Jesus gathers his disciples in Galilee, an unlikely place away from the centers of power in his day, to pave the way for all people, including you and me, to encounter the risen Jesus and the new life that he made possible. The reality is God's always ahead of us, leading us to hope and to a new and better life with him.